Welcome along to another edition of Friday Forum Live, where today I'm joined in the studio by producer, engineer and head of the school, JC Concato, who's going to be giving us his first impressions of Apple's brand new Logic Pro 10. So JC is here to give us the first look at Logic Pro 10. We're going to get to see some of the new features, also get a bit of a comparison going with Logic Pro 9. So we can give you a kind of first impressions, a first glance at the software. It has to be said, you know, it's a pretty big development, I think, for production geeks like us. I mean,
absolutely.
We've been waiting a long time for it, you know, and especially the fact that no one really had a heads up. I mean, I had no idea.
No, it came really completely as a show, apart from the few exclusive beta testers.
I think a few rumours floating here and there, so you know it's a big deal, and we're really looking forward to getting stuck into it. Here at Point Blank, there's a lot of development already starting with integrating it into our course content and to the physical, you know, campus as well. So yeah, just before we get into it, I'm going to give you a quick rundown of what's been going on this week at Point Blank. So first up, we have the full range of PB online courses starting on this Monday, the 22nd of July. Just head over to pointblankonline.net and you can check out the full range. As I say, everything starting on Monday, so we do have a few more spaces left. Make sure you get enrolling now. Also, if you head over to Point Blank Plus, we've got the brand new Max for Live plugin that we've created. This one called the Big Riff Generator. So if you head over to the blog, Point Blank Plus, you'll be able to download the plugin and get using it in your production straight away. And finally, we should also say that we're still running the 10% discount diploma on all of discount offer on all the diplomas here at Point Blank London. There's only a very few spaces left for that one. So if you do want to save yourself up to £1,400, head over to pointblanklondon.com and get enrolling on a diploma. So yeah, that's about it from me. Let's hand over to JC and let's get a look at Logic Pro 10.
Absolutely, cool. So first thing I want to do is I've got a project. I want to do a project with vocals because obviously one of the big feature is the flex pitch.
Yes, yeah.
In Logic 10.
Yeah.
So in order to show that, I wanted to.
And I guess for those that don't know.
Flex pitch, well, basically it's the Logic 9 introduced flex time, which allowed you to play with the timing of things, effectively quantizing audio, but also changing the timing quite radically. You know, really interesting stuff like elastic audio in Pro Tools or warping in Ableton, you know, and everybody thought, well, Logic are kind of behind with that, you know.
Yeah.
So now they've brought in flex pitch, which is, for those of you who are familiar, it's effectively Melodyne, as far as I'm concerned. I've used Melodyne extensively, so because I do a lot of projects on vocals, so it was a good occasion for me to see how does it compare with it. So we shall see.
Yes, definitely.
But what I wanted to see first is how do we open, how is it compatible with previous project? You know? Okay. There's so many discussions over the last 3 days on Facebook. I've been interacting with quite a few people. You know, I see a lot of the usual, I would call knee-jerk reactions. It's coming out, don't like it, don't like the look of it. Everybody was scared, especially after Final Cut Pro 10. Where with Final Cut, what they've did is completely change it, like radically.
And dumbed it down, I guess was the thing.
Well, I think people assumed that they dumbed it down. I think it's about, they've improved the workflow as far as I'm concerned. But what they've done with Final Cut, which I think our video guys would agree, is that if you come from Final Cut 6, 7, or even 5, they changed it so much that you had to relearn it. So with Logic 10, I think everybody was kind of like, I don't want to relearn. You know, I've been using Logic since version 2 on the Mac. I was a beta tester with Imagic, all that kind of stuff. So I'm at the stage where I want to get on with it and do some work. So I don't want to relearn the platform. So I was a bit anxious of, you know, see what happens. So let's find out.
Yeah, let's do it. So this is looking at going from Logic Pro 9.
Well, here, can you see my screen now? Here is a song in Logic 9, as you can see. And you're going to see how different it looks for a start. So we're going to open, so I'm going there. So just first thing, as you noticed, Logic 9 is there, Logic 10 is there. They coexist completely happily on the same computer. I even tried it where I've got both versions opening simultaneously. They happily coexist together. So for those people who are wondering, I'm in the middle of a project, I don't really want to mess up my computers. Obviously, Logic 10 requires 10.8.4, the latest version. and it's 64-bit only. So that's the big issue that a lot of people are saying, oh, it's a deal breaker for me.
Yeah.
Logic 9, you could work in 64-bit, but there was a bridge. So all your 32-bit plugin could open up. With Logic 10,
It doesn't happen.
it's 64-bit. But it's time to move on. Apple have always been quite bold in the way they do things, and most manufacturers are 64-bit now.
Yeah.
And I've already looked into it. There are some shell out there, bridge shell, that allows you to shell your 32-bit plugin. They open in Logic 10.
Okay.
I haven't got it on this computer, but I'm pretty sure there are going to be quite a few of them out there.
Yeah, and I think manufacturers are just going to start going all 64-bit though, aren't they?
Exactly.
Yeah,
I think if anything, it's enticing them to finally make that move.
Commitment.
I think it's a bit. I understand. I've spoken to a lot of friends who are saying, yeah, but I use those plugins and they're small companies. It's going to take them longer to to port it to 64-bit. So I know it's a bit of a problem for that, but you can have both platforms working together. So let's see. So the first thing for me was to see how can you open a Logic Project 9 into 10. It's completely compatible. Actually, I've been told you can go back to Logic 5 project, opening into 10. And I think that's a big issue for me. If you're somebody working every day, you want to make sure that you can transport your project really well. So here, the first time you open, every time in Logic, it asks you to save. I'll go back to the saving thing because there's a cool thing about call package, which basically you can now save a Logic song as a package. What it means is you've got the Logic file format, and within that, everything is in there. So it's one file.
Okay.
Great to share.
Yeah, definitely.
We transfer, you send whatever you're using to send stuff, FTP services. Brilliant.
Yeah, that's a lot easier.
So that just little things like that under the hood, everything they've done is, there's a lot of features, So let's open it. So I'm going to save it. I don't need to save all the stuff because I'm saving it in the same folder, except that it's going to be a Logic 10 file project. So let's see how it deals with it. I'm opening and look at how quick it is. We're in Logic 10. So I was really surprised. For me, Logic 10 already feels a lot snappier.
Yeah.
Logic 9 could be a bit longer. I mean, the first time it's going to scan, obviously it takes a long time. So as you can see, the interface looks very different. Very different. There's been a lot of talk about that. People are saying, oh, it looks like GarageBand.
Yeah.
For me, I can't see it. It doesn't look like GarageBand to me. It feels like a proper app. If anything, when you open up, it asks you, do you want to keep your shortcuts from 9 or use the new one?
Okay.
I've used 9 just because it would be easier for today's purposes. So if you look the first thing at the mixer, I have to say I love the mixer. It looks a lot like Pro Tools, I would say. It feels more like a mix. And being a mix engineer, the user interface for me is quite important.
Yeah, definitely.
So I love the look of the mixer, and we're going to look at some of the functionalities, very quickly on that. Quick tour of the interface. They've done the transport bar at the top. Some people don't like it. I don't mind it. You can completely customize it as well here. So you make it, very different. I mean, the whole thing is completely customized. You can do whatever you want with it, so it's pretty cool. You can hide it, have a floating transport bar at the bottom if you wish. It's completely flexible. The main thing for me about the interface, they've changed. It's snappier, it's cleaner, it's leaner. It's not as bright. I think it's easier on the eye if you're going to work 16 hours in front of the computer.
In a dark studio.
I think it's going to be easier. I think it's going to be nicer. And the first thing to notice is the change in the menus. We used in Logic, one of the things that used to annoy me a little bit from 6 to 7 to 8 to 9 was that all the sub-menus here, they kept changing them. From 8 to 9, they changed them again. So you need to readapt and stuff. I think now it's a lot leaner. You've got anything that is track orientated is there, navigation is there, mix is there, record is there. It makes sense to me. It's cleaner. It makes more sense. So as an education place, as Point Blank, as a music college, I think to train people, it's going to be way better as well.
I think that was always the thing with Logic. It was slightly unintuitive, which made our job,
a little bit maybe difficult because it was so opened.
Yeah.
I think that was the key. You could do it if you were kind of an experienced user, it was great, but for a beginner, maybe it was a little bit daunting. I think that they've catered for that.
Yeah.
That's why a lot of people are saying, oh, it's more geared towards GarageBand users. No, it's not. It's just easier to approach. But
which has got to be a good thing.
It's a great thing. Yeah, I can't see that as a negative point. And more importantly, they haven't removed any function from 9. All they've done is added. And people say, oh, they haven't 4 years to add few. No, they have added loads of features. So let's
see
to look at some of them now, you know. So one last thing about the interface. One great thing is this advanced tool as well. You're a beginner, you want to learn it, you're coming from GarageBand, you switch off the whole advance here. You see now? It looks, now it's GarageBand, it even has the wood thing on the side. What it means is there's a lot of advanced feature I can't access. So it's a great thing. You come from GarageBand, you're moving on to that.
So
and
it's
then
a step in between.
A step in between.
See,
you know, so that's pretty cool to me. And then obviously you go back to it on the preferences, advanced tool, activate it, and then you can select which advanced tool you want to use or not. And now we are back into the full logic. So that's for me for the user interface. After that, there's a lot more that you discover for yourself. But I have to say, I've played with it for about 2 hours, rough, since I had it. A lot of it was taking time to install it on my laptop and making everything work. You know? But I have found it really intuitive. If you're a Logic 9 user, within an hour, I can guarantee you get on with it.
Superb. That's what you want to hear, isn't it?
So for me, it really works. So first feature, flex pitch, tuning stuff. So I've got vocals here. So as before, you activate flex. Obviously, they've changed the icon. And here, now you've got flex pitch. So I'm going there. And I'm going to solo that just to highlight that. So you notice also that the toolbar here is not there, but you can recall it very easily. Show toolbar. So I'm going to set the locator around there. And
I think we could be.
so we've got some vocals here.
Something.
One thing I need to point out about tuning vocal is, you know, you should always have, to do a better job with tuning vocal, you should have them dry.
Right.
You know, if you're going to have an a cappella from a mix already with reverbs, heavily processed, it's never going to do a good job. You know, tuning vocal has to be done with the pure sound. The delays and stuff that you hear, it's just me, the kind of mixing stuff that I have on it, but otherwise they're completely dry. So first thing, some people, I've seen a few videos obviously on YouTube and stuff about Logic 10 already. But one of the cool things that I haven't seen in many videos is that people don't realize you can already tune from the arrange page.
Okay.
Straight away. You see those marks here, those lines? They're your tuning.
Right.
And that's to do what I would say a gross job, a quick one, a quick fix. So have a look here. I can get on with that. I'm going to highlight all of that. Those are my pitches. Let's put them all. There you are, done.
I think we could be.
Job done.
Something
That's how quick it is.
special.
Obviously, the reality is that Melodyne could do that as well. In reality, you never tune vocal like that. Intonation of the singers, you know, you slide into the note, you want to keep that. So I'm going to undo that. And now we're going to go into the more kind of advanced. We're opening now what used to be known as the sample editor, but I think they've changed the name. They've changed a lot of the names of all the windows. Not a big deal. Obviously for us as courses, we want to make, you know, we'll change. But otherwise, and here you are, for those of you who are familiar with Melodyne,
it's very similar, isn't it?
You're going to recognize totally those new features. So,
is it powered by Melodyne, do you think, the flex pitch? Is it the same engine? Or?
I don't know, because there's two things about, I was discussing that with a friend just earlier today, actually. Melodyne uses something called resynthesis. I think it's resynthesize.
Okay,
And I think Logic uses the same, the same kind of engine. Whereas Autotune kind of changes what's coming in. So they both work, I think, differently. I think I've got a feeling by the way the functions are and everything in there that it's very much Melodyne. So again, very quickly, if you wanted to do a quick job here, you select it here and you see this pitch correction. That's the kind of slider, the slider approach here is exactly what GarageBand used to have. They brought that in GarageBand, and it was a good thing. I like that. So again, you want to correct the pitch. That's how much you're going to correct it by, and you see the little things moving, and eventually you've done that. By doing that, effectively, I could select everything, pitch correct everything. I could retune 10 tracks of vocal under a minute, probably. The reality, like I said, it's probably not the way to do it. So let's do another approach and show some of the tools. One thing I love about, so the first thing about, you can change the notes. Obviously, you grab the note. if you know how to use what the piano roll, you know how to use pitch because you're changing the notes. So let's go here.
I think we could be.
I mean, that's very quick. I mean, obviously it was.
I think we could be.
It's so fast,
That's how quick
isn't
it is.
Yeah.
One thing personally that I haven't yet tested it enough to see how good it sounds compared to Melodyne. But one thing I love about that, and if it sounds remotely as good as Melodyne, then I'm really, really happy. It's Melodyne to change. You know, you've got lots of different tools. So if you look here, it's the fine pitch. So I don't change the notes. I'm going to undo what I've done here. Here, the fine pitch is exactly the pitch correction here. But then here you've got this pitch drift, which is the intonation at the beginning of the note. So you can change that. You see the little bar moving here.
So that is what you're talking about, the sliding into the note.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And here at the end as well. So you could have the notes going up. So it's all there. Here
So
you've got the
kind of
formant.
change their internet, the way they've sung it,
Absolutely,
yeah.
because sometimes you need those kind of tools because a singer many singers kind of hit the note maybe slightly under or above and then they stabilize on
find
the
it.
right.
Yeah.
So that's why those tools have come about,
It's
really.
really useful.
And then you've got here the gain. I love that. If you're going to clean vocal, sometimes breathing S's before you hit the compressor, you can start leveling your vocals here with the gain non-destructively before hitting the compressor.
Yeah.
That means you don't have to compress maybe as much or stuff like that. Absolutely brilliant.
And also you just get it sounding how you want it to sound instantly rather than having to
before
wait.
processing it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I love that feature. And then the vibrato, very much like
yeah.
auto-tune.
Yeah.
So, you know, if you wanted to go for that kind of slightly auto-tune vibe, let's see.
I think we could be.
No more vibrato, you know. But again, it sounds quite natural to me. So one of the big advantage about, for me, even over Melodyne, is that in Melodyne to access those different tools, you need to change tools.
Right.
Here, they've
It's
done
all
it
in
in a
one
way,
place, yeah.
it's all in one place.
That's very useful.
So that's vocal pitch for me. So maybe we can zoom in a little bit more so you can see those 6
Should
points.
quickly mention as well, guys watching at home, if you do have any questions as we go, you know, just post up in the chat room and I'll put them forward to JC, you know, so if you've got anything you want to
absolutely,
know.
please,
Obviously, it's a relatively first look at it.
It
but,
is totally,
you know.
but let's discuss.
Yeah,
let's
definitely.
discuss. I mean, some of you may as well using it already.
Let's
share. Let's share. You know.
Yeah, definitely. So get the questions in, guys.
So that's the big thing for me. Now, those rectangles, one thing I quite like actually is that the fact that I can move it. So if the waveform gets in the way, I can. Also, sometimes Melodyne, and it's the same here, they don't get the right notes. So if you wanted to split a note, you use the normal tools as before. You just, obviously here he's got them right, you know, but here, you see here straight away, it has changed the top, it has changed the note.
Okay.
Pardon me. So you use the scissor to get the right notes straight away, and then you can retune accordingly where they're supposed to be. So that's the pitch for me. There's so many new features that I'm going to go over.
Yeah, definitely.
Over them
Keep it
relatively
rolling.
quickly. But yeah, so far very impressed with that.
Yeah, definitely.
And obviously also because of the function convert to MIDI, you can convert to MIDI and double with the synth if you
Right.
want it.
Yeah.
So
okay.
pretty cool stuff. So I'm going to undo everything I've done here. So that's the Melodyne type of flex pitch. That's let's call it flex pitch and not Melodyne. That's flex pitch in Logic, and it's I have to say really impressed. You know, I wasn't
definitely.
expecting it to be that good.
And that kind of simple to use, I guess.
Yeah. Exactly. You know, if you know how to use the piano roll, you know how to use flex pitch.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
You know.
That's wicked.
So that's the first that on that. One of the other feature that everybody's been talking about is the virtual drummer.
Yes. Yeah.
So here we've got this drum and bass track,
I think we could be.
and I thought the virtual drummer, I have to say, plays live drums. Yeah, so it's acoustic kits. For you guys who are into electronic music, it may not be maybe as relevant. Maybe I would say.
Still get a groove out of it, though,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. But for songwriters, imagine you're a songwriter, you've got these instrument
Yeah,
drums.
you just got your guitar at home.
So what I wanted to find out is how gadgety it is. Again, because the whole garage band, you know, is it
Yeah.
a loop?
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
it how
yeah.
is it working? And I think they've gone extensively. So I'm going to on the track and new drummer track.
So you added new drum track, right?
A drummer
Yeah.
track. It's called
Okay.
a drummer track.
Okay.
So the interface is very simple. You've got a selection of drummers. So Kyle is our rock drummer. Alternative, we've got 4 drummers. On this computer, I haven't downloaded the extra content.
Okay.
So you just download it for free. You know, it's the
Yeah.
additional content. There's about 35 giga of content, 19 giga of it being drums.
Yeah.
Which makes me think they've gone into a lot of details in order to get those drums. I have to say, looking at it and having played with it, it's BFD.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
the BFD for those of you who are familiar with those kind of drums. So I thought let's throw a challenge to our friend Cal, who's our rock drummer, and let's see what he's going to come up with on this drum and drag track, which obviously is not his style. So I'm going to bring this pattern. As soon as you create a drummer, it comes up with a pattern.
So it just reads your track and comes up with a pattern.
No, basically, it has each drummer have the kind of their favorite patterns.
Right.
They've been real drummer,
Yeah.
sampled
yeah.
in the studio. Their kit sampled and their groove taken
Right.
as templates. But they are a lot more than loops. So here you've got a whole bunch of grooves. They're their favorite patterns. So you've got 5 drummers in rock, all with those grooves, but it doesn't stop here. Let's have a listen. So now I've switched off the backing track, just the vocal, and see what the drummer comes up with. Sorry, I actually haven't muted the backing track.
I think we could
It's not a bad effort, right?
Well,
If we just try.
obviously quite rocky sound,
Yeah.
but the beauty of it is, look, you've got this XY pad.
Something special.
Let me turn it down a little bit.
If we just try.
And then you can go from simple, you can change
Oh, right.
the complexity and the dynamic of the pattern. So let's play with it a little bit.
Something special.
Let's make it more complex.
If we just try.
Okay.
And then
We could be
notice it's hitting harder.
something special.
Yeah.
And then
We just try.
we've got fills.
And so that's the kind of quantity of fills going
Absolutely,
through
and the genre.
Yeah.
And the more you make it complex,
Try.
The more out there it goes. Brilliant.
so, you know, I love finger drumming, but it's
pretty cool, yeah.
It's a lot better than I am.
If we
Um,
just try.
And then you've got swing.
I think we could be something
Good, isn't it?
special.
It's absolutely
If we
brilliant.
just try.
The whole thing, so you've got the virtual drummer. And the way it works is you see here, let me zoom on those.
Can you extract the groove from that?
Yeah, let's look into that. Here it looks like audio, it's not audio, it's not a
Right.
loop, because as you can see I completely can interact
it
with
can't
it.
be audio, can
I
it?
can
Yeah.
interact with it
Yeah.
live, so that's brilliant. So the slightest movement I do here, it sends a pattern. So within one drummer and one pattern, the number of grooves you
Yeah,
have,
yeah,
it's pretty
yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
You know. On top of it, you've got obviously all those drummers, alternative, songwriter, R&B. So it's pretty cool. Let's see what our friend here, Aidan, I like Aidan, is going to come up with.
I think we could be something special.
And I guess you can
groove.
obviously automate all this as well.
Absolutely, of course.
I think we could be something special if we just try. I think we could be something.
It's pretty cool. So let's go back to our friend Kyle. I like to call them by their name. And what's behind it? What's behind it is drum kit designer,
Okay.
and that's the BFD. So before we go into there, yes, you were saying that you can turn it into. Let's say I'm creating another track here. Okay. So I'm going to create just a new track and let's say a software instrument track for now. So I've got a software instrument track. By default, it's got electric piano, but I'm going to bypass it for now because obviously we don't want a piano. But look, what happens is that if I copy that or move it to that track, It's MIDI.
Instantly as well.
Instantly.
Wow,
It's MIDI.
that's wicked.
So if you think of it as you can
So-
start editing and personalize it.
And I guess you can obviously just drop your own samples in there.
And now you can put Contact, you can
Yeah,
put
yeah,
battery,
yeah.
you can put EXS20, you can put whatever you want.
That's a really, really good feature, isn't it?
So it's pretty.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, it's more than a gadget.
Mm.
A lot more than a gadget, actually. You know, you can start personalizing it and stuff. I can see a lot of use for it.
Mm.
You know.
I guess because obviously I guess we talked about this in the office about how, you know, the danger of something like that could be that you get loads of tracks coming out that sound very, very similar. You know,
But
that all use this, but now with that,
With
you know,
that,
yeah,
I
it's
can't
not
see
gonna
the
happen,
issue
is
of
it?
that, you
Yeah.
know. So we've got that, and let's mute the MIDI track. We're staying there, and let's have a little look at Drum Kit Designer. Here we are. So that's Drum Kit Designer.
Mm-hmm.
So notice one thing I love about those windows as well is that before that you could make them bigger but not necessarily smaller.
That's true. Yeah.
Now you can make it smaller as
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
which
yeah.
is great if you have a small screen.
Yeah, if you're
you
working
work
on the
a
MacBook
13
Pro or
MacBook
something,
Pro,
yeah.
you know, it's great to be able to scale down those
That's
windows.
because I work on a quite small laptop, and that is really frustrating. If I have Ultrabeat open, for example, it's huge.
Yeah,
you know, it takes up
yeah.
the whole
yeah.
screen.
Well, here you can drag it down. You know.
Yeah. Again, I think you know what we talked about is this very simple workflow. You know, changes that make a massive difference
Totally.
to your work.
So Drum Kit Designer, again, I don't have that many kits because I haven't downloaded everything.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, they clearly have sampled a lot of different velocities and you know, making it as real as possible. And the beauty of it is I go there, change the kick. You can tune it, dampen it, like you would do for a real drum. Change the snare. You can dampen it as well. Make it even drier. See, it's quite dampened, less open. I mean, normal stuff you do as a drummer,
Yeah.
basically.
yeah, yeah.
Except that they've done it in a great, really easy to use interface. So for me, it's absolutely fantastic.
I think we could be something special.
You can tune the kick, the snare.
If we just try.
So it's highly versatile.
Yeah.
What I love about it as well is that, let's say if I wanted to turn that into, not Drum Kit Designer, if now I open the sampler, and it's the case for many of the instruments that comes from GarageBand that you open in Logic, effectively they are an EXS24 in disguise,
Yeah.
with a
Yeah,
simple
yeah,
interface. But if I open it here, EXS24,
Well, they've kept that relatively similar then, the interface.
yes,
Yeah.
we'll talk about that. Look at the number of samples
Mm.
Oh,
for this drum kit.
I think we could be.
One thing, can you, for example, say if I was listening to that kit and I really like the hats, can you just take
Well,
out those?
Well, it's there.
Yeah.
It's one of the samples here. It's going to be here.
And in the kit, you can
Yeah.
mute the kick and the
They're there.
snare, I guess.
They're there. That's your snares. Straight away.
Yeah.
All those samples are on your hard drive somewhere. So what I love is they've made a very simple interface, very approachable. And then if you're more experienced and you want to do more with it, it's there for
Yeah.
you. It's there for
Yeah.
you to play with.
Cool.
So it's one of the features. So yeah, going back to the existing instrument, which are all the existing instruments, EXS24, Ultrabeat, ES1. No, they haven't changed the interface.
Okay.
A lot of people have been moaning about it. I mean,
I really like them though. I never had a problem with
For me, I'm not a big fan of the interface. I would have loved them to reskin them, but I wouldn't want them to change them.
Yeah.
Again, I don't want to relearn.
Yeah.
You know, and ultimately, yeah, it's for me it works. So going to this, you know, a lot of people were thinking, oh, you know, I can hide the library here. So they've changed the libraries on the left-hand side instead of the right now. It makes sense. It's next to your channels. One feature that I like is this quick help. The quick help features here is actually really, really useful. I think many DAW have it, like Ableton. You just put your mouse over something and it tells you what it does. So the quick help is very useful. So for me, within an hour, that's hard.
That's an Ableton kind of ish thing, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. So the way I've learned the new function, it was that effectively.
Yeah.
You know, it's you put your mouth and it tells you what it is.
Yeah.
You know. So.
We've actually got a couple of questions, JC. If you
Okay,
want
so
to
let's
just
have a little break
yeah.
and take some questions.
So we've got one from Chemix Music who's asked if the new Logic has any groove extraction tools like Ableton 9 or from audio loops, etc.
Well, yeah, it always had.
Okay.
Yeah, Logic, as far as I'm concerned, Logic had that since version 3.
Right.
Except that it's over the years, it's done it differently.
Yeah.
But with Flex Time, you can quantize, turn it into a groove, and apply it to a lot of different tracks. So yeah. Yes, it has.
Also, we've got Chris Wah who's asked
Chris.
more about the new audio editing functions. I guess we've kind of gone through
the main editing function for me, and I can see the new one, is the flex pitch.
Yeah.
But also, I have to say, let's look at here. You notice normally we used to open that, it would open it in this way. What used to be known as a sample editor, with the anchor, the region, the loop here. That's what we know. What they've changed here is that they've called it as a track now, which it's more in the context of in the arrangement. So they've added that, which makes sense to me.
Yeah.
I never was a big fan of the sample editor. I got used to it, but the whole anchor point and stuff, I think confuses people as well. If you're learning, the process was maybe not necessary.
Yeah.
I think having it in there, this way, they've done this kind of, I don't know the name of it, so I don't want to, but it's a track sample editor, whatever it's called.
Okay.
I think totally makes sense for me.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like a big zoom on the regions, basically. So you've got two ways to edit your thing here.
We've got,
in terms of other audio, not that I'm aware of, but I'm very discovering.
Yeah, I guess we're all new to it, aren't we?
Yeah.
So we've got Dan Cargill.
Hi, Dan.
He's asked anything planned about the scripter tool for MIDI plugins.
Yes. In terms of doing it now today, or
well, I guess he's asking if what Logic have done with it. Really.
Yeah, it is. It's there.
Yeah.
We're going to go into MIDI plugin now, actually.
Okay. Yeah. Let's. Jack has asked about how we feel if we're disappointed with the lack of update for the Ultra Beat and EXS.
Well,
I mean, kind of touched on that.
I know the EXS have complained a lot about it over the years, but at the same time, if I want a more powerful sampler, I will start using maybe Concato or a third-party, plugin. But I got used to the EXS, and it's not a big issue for me.
No, I guess if you're coming from 9, it's it's cool, really.
It's what it is, I think you could argue that if they had made big changes on there, then you wouldn't have that kind of compatibility. And that's why I started
and you get complaints the other way anyway.
You know what I mean? So that's why for me I started it with opening Project 9 into it.
Cool, that's about all the questions. Do keep them coming in, guys. And let's get back into
there. So now let's say I've got an electric piano here. Well, they haven't made any changes. The only thing they've done is you can see here vintage B3, vintage clav, electric piano.
There's a couple of new.
Well, those three things are what used to be the clavinet, EVB.
Right. Yeah.
They've just repackaged it.
Okay.
That's it. So
similar sound from
yeah,
them
very
as well?
much so. Okay. Very much so. But there's one new synth, so worth mentioning, retro synth.
Ah, yeah, I read about this actually.
So there's a brand new synth. It's got 4 types of kind of synthesis. Your typical analog. Looks a bit like a Moog. You could
it does
argue.
indeed. Yeah.
Art sync, which is kind of similar, but with you're really syncing the oscillator together.
Okay.
And then wavetable, and they've gone into the designs. Those of you who've known those synths called PPG, W something.
Right.
They're kind of what the interface is taken from.
Okay.
And that's your FM synth. And if you look at the look of it, it may remind you of a DX7, which is what they will look like.
Yeah.
It's muted here. And obviously, typical FM sound sounding. So let's have a listen to some of those. So let's check out some bass maybe. Bass, for example. So here we've got different type of filters. I mean, in terms of the synth, I'm not hugely suddenly taken over, if I'm totally honest, with it. I've played 10 minutes with it. So we could start, let's say, you know, for me there's still a lack of a sine wave. You've got a sine here, but you don't have a sine wave here that you can tune, which is a bit of a shame. But it's there, so now I've got some bottom end. You know, so you've got a triangle.
So you can add that kind of sub-layer,
but you can't tune it, so it's a bit of a shame. And then you've got all the stuff here. So for example, let's see the LFO, what we can do with it. I'm going to assign it to the mod wheel instead of having it fixed. So I probably need to do some things here on the settings. Yeah, okay, the mod wheel is at the moment assigned to the stuff here. And then like that. Yeah. So you see, very quickly you can assign an LFO.
Yeah.
Very quickly. I mean, it's a nice enough synth, you know. We can
it does the job.
A bit of a glide. You know, it's a decent thing. I like the interface better than ES1, I have to say. One thing about back on the interface, those of you who follow the kind of things with Apple and iOS 7, it's all going flat, 2D, moving away from making things look like the real thing. You know, because John Hives, that's his philosophy. And I was a bit worried that they would do that with Logic, and they've gone the other way.
Right.
I need my things to look like the real thing when I make music. So I'm really happy with that.
You've got to have something to look at, haven't you?
Absolutely, man, absolutely. So let's look at some pad quickly. Come on. Okay. Typical wavetable pad. So that's the new synth, but again, you need to go into it. Now, one of the other really big thing, I suppose, is the MIDI plugins.
Yes, yeah.
One of the things about Logic, you had to go into the environment to get arpeggiators, chord memorizer, and even those were not really strong.
No, I mean, for me, the arpeggiator has been a source of frustration.
Really?
You know,
okay, well, I mean, you're going to be in heaven.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got really good news for you. I mean, the environment is very powerful. I've got friends who do incredible things with the environment.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've got... you know, Danny has sent me stuff to you know, use with the environment, chord memorizer and the arpeggiator and stuff like that.
Basically, so one of the fear of many people was kind of like, oh, I hope they haven't removed the environment for the power user. So it's there. Guys, don't worry, you still can do, we can still
Your
do
super technical stuff
absolutely
going in the back.
Personally, I used to do a bit of that, but I don't anymore. I'm really pleased with the MIDI plugin. So let's look at the MIDI plugin, and let's look at the fade, the mixer in general. They've changed the orders of things on this mixer, and I think it makes sense.
So
the input is at the top, and it makes sense. If you think of a signal flow, you know, one of the things, and I've noticed it here, you know, when you teach people signal flow and in Logic and stuff, it was a bit confusing.
I guess the input's got to come first.
Exactly. So here you start with the input, then your effects, your sends, the output, the group, automation, the pan, and the volume. So it kind of makes sense to me. A nice little addition is this, do I have a compressor somewhere? Yeah, I've got, where are the drums? Check out here. I'm going to compress that a little bit more. Check here, you've got a gain reduction as part of the meter. Okay. Little things like that, it's quite cool.
I guess, again, you know, that's for you, especially as a mix engineer, just less opening of stuff.
Yeah, you know, absolutely, keep an eye on things, so it's really good. So, which takes us to MIDI plugins. So, as part of here, we've got MIDI plugins here. Okay. First thing before the input. So here you've got arpeggiator, chord trigger, modifier. You've got loads of MIDI plugins that suddenly you don't need to bring from the environment. So let's have a look at the arpeggiator because that's the one that everybody wants to know about. Here it is. I like the interface.
Yes.
It's a very powerful arpeggiator.
Yeah.
I'm gonna latch it so I don't have to play it. Obviously the rate, up and down, octave range. Let's take a bit of a to really hear it. So that's the first stuff you can do with it. Different ways, different movement, you know, up and down, the usual stuff. That's your typical. On top of it, you've got variation.
I guess this was all there before, wasn't it? But you just,
and you couldn't do as much.
Yeah, I guess so.
Not as much, not quite as much. See, slightly variation on it. So that's the first thing you have with it, and then you've got the note length. You even have a swing. You've got it as played or different type of cycle length. So you could make it 2 bars, 1 bar. I mean, it's really powerful, man. You know what? Let's change the synth because it's doing hiding that sound. Surely we must have a slightly.
In the meantime, JC, this is probably a question that's probably on lots of people's lips. James Fox has asked, do you think it's better to buy Ableton Suite for 500 or Logic for 200?
It depends what you want to do.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I want to go.
I guess you could. Be slightly objective here, don't we? I guess.
I'm a Logic user.
Yeah.
I've been a Logic user for far too many years, so I don't play live. So for me, Ableton. I didn't feel the need for Ableton.
Yeah.
You know, I'm more of a mix engineer. So if anything, I want more features for the mix. You know, it's for me. It's always been between Pro Tools and Logic.
And I guess if you are coming to music production, you are new to it. Try and get a look at both. I guess go through our YouTube channel. I guess.
I think if you play live, Ableton is clearly the option. You know, the potential of it seems incredible. But I'm not enough of a user of it hardly to give an opinion. As for that, it's only £139.
Yeah.
And what it comes with it,
it's a bargain.
It's I have to say.
Another question from Charlie J, who's asked, what do you think about the new smart functions?
Let's
have a look at those next as well.
Absolutely.
And quickly, Mags has asked, can you pitch correct intervals smaller than a semitone? It looks like it just snaps to the key on the piano roll. In Melodyne, you're able to move it just a tiny little bit.
Yeah, you can as well.
Yeah, so you can go in a little
with
bit more detail.
You've got the fine.
Oh yeah, of course.
The fine-tuning, the fine-tuning.
Of course.
Exactly like Melodyne.
Another one, Alessandro has asked if it supports VST plugins, as we said.
It's always been supporting audio units since
64-bit.
Now it's 64-bit audio units. Before that, it was audio units.
Yeah.
It was VST back in the days of Imagic.
Yeah,
but as soon as Apple introduced audio unit, Logic only did audio unit on its own. You would need a wrapper that does VST to audio units.
Cool. And so, here's a message from Jack who said it looks like he's gonna make the switch from back to Logic from Ableton.
Well, I think maybe there's a space for two. Maybe there's, you know. After that, you know. It depends on how you work. It's what you're doing, how you work. Some people believe Logic sounds better than Ableton.
Yeah.
I can't even tell because I don't use Ableton, so to be fair, you know. I'm happy with the sound engine of Logic.
Yeah.
I've had few people telling me, they haven't changed the sound engine. And I'm like, why should they?
Yeah, it was pretty good.
It sounds fine. You know, it wasn't where work needed to be done.
That wasn't the one thing that...
If there's one thing that I'm a bit disappointed they haven't changed is algorithm for time stretching.
Right.
It's still the same since back in the days, again, since version 3. They've introduced a couple with 8, I think, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
I may be wrong, 7 or 8. But that is a bit disappointing. That is a for me. It would have been good to see a better time stretch. But if I'm totally honest, there's not a single DAW that time stretch the way I would want to. If I do, very peculiar time stretch, I would use third-party time stretch algorithm that cost a fortune just doing that. You know.
It's built just for that job.
Yeah, absolutely. The isotope radius, for example, or speed from sound is it sound toys or another? I think it's sound toys. So, you know. So yeah.
Yes. So that, I mean, that's the questions as we approach the 45-minute mark. Just try and
I
squeeze in a
think,
couple of extra things.
Then let's try to squeeze a couple more. So quickly, people. One thing I was a bit surprised, although the interface is a lot sleeker, to bring another MIDI plugin is a bit tricky. You need to bring it here, and there's a line that appears, and then you can bring another one underneath. That for me was a bit disappointing. It's kind of like it took me a long time. For a long time, I thought, oh, I can only have one MIDI plugin, but no, you can have up to 8.
Okay.
But you have to literally bring it here, and have the line, and then you bring a new one.
Right.
So you could bring, let's say, a
Chord
chord trigger.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's another cool one, isn't it?
There. You know, it's pretty cool. So on the subject of another cool thing for me is track stack.
Yes, we've just had a question come in about track stack actually.
So let's say I've got a synth here. Okay, let's have another one. I want to have another synth. Great, you know, if you want to tighten up your sounds, or you know, there's several uses for it. So I've got another one here. So let's have another, for example, another retro synth, another sound. Let's have that. And shall we have another one just for the fun of it? New software instrument track. I've got another one here, and well, let's have another instrument, because you can do it with any instrument you want. So we could have it with an ES1 this time round. Hey, here's our friend ES1. It's kind of funny for me opening the old synth.
Yeah, that's what someone else has just said. They're slightly disappointed in the fact that you know
they look a bit wrong.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
they look a bit out of
fit,
place.
yeah,
They don't quite fit with the new look somehow.
Yeah, yeah.
You know. But you know, they still sound pretty okay. I'm not going to even work on the sound. But the beauty of it, first thing, you can select several tracks now in the arrange page, which is not called the arrange page actually, but you can select several tracks and move them all. So again, in terms of workflow, brilliant. You know, you couldn't do that before. But the beauty of this workflow thing is this. So I'm selecting all those tracks, those 3 together. I simply go there and I create track stack. With track stack, you've got 2 modes, folder or summing. For the purpose of what we want to do, you can go, it explained to you. I go summing. Now, I place 3 things together.
Yeah. That's a wicked feature.
Which is like in Ableton, I think it's a rack or something.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And obviously, you still can submix them as you wish.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can make one small. But I've got it all under one control.
That's really useful.
So that's and I mean, what I love about those new features is how easy you incorporate. You know, I mean, you've seen. So that means the learning curve. When you buy Logic 10 now, you go home, and you can use the new features.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, I didn't feel there was any learning curve to it, and that I have to say I'm really impressed with.
Yeah,
it.
definitely.
Really,
I mean, that's
really
a hard
impressed
thing
with it.
to get right.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and that I have to say is a really, really, really big thing.
Yeah.
Really, really, really big thing.
I mean, so as we approach time, JC, have you got more stuff that you want to go through?
Well, quickly the smart control.
Go for it.
Shall we? Here it is. Smart control is basically a way for Logic to design. Let me do it on a track where, let's say I'm gonna go there, and I'm gonna go there, and I'm gonna go there, and I'm gonna go quickly. Okay, so a few things as well here. You see the bypass is different here. On the plugins, you used to have to do alternate. Click on it. Now there's a bypass button. That means you don't have to. Again, workflow. You don't have to key modifier and all that kind of stuff. You know.
Yeah.
So that's that. So smart control. So now I'm gonna put quickly. What am I gonna put? Let's say a delay. Let's do a quick delay. Do we have a bit of time? Or are we running out? Am I taking too much time?
Well, we're at the 50-minute mark.
Sorry.
I think we could be
There's so much to show, guys.
something special.
Okay, so now I go smart. And here it has decided for me automatically the stuff that I may want to use.
I see.
Okay, so quick way to get some controls hand on. And he kind of guessed it, but it doesn't stop here. You can completely design it. Okay, so instead of doing that, let's say, well, I mean, you can go there and you can map it. And that is where it's becoming quite advanced. You know, all the advanced stuff we were talking about. You can assign any parameter you want to that. You can have one knob. You can assign 5 parameters to it,
Right.
and get them to do very quite complex stuff, and then turn that when it does those 5 things in one place.
Okay. Right.
So that's the smart control. On top of it, you can change the interface of it. I'm really into my interfaces, you see. It's great. It's really great. I mean, those ones are pretty much the same. Modern synth. So you see, they're all looking different. You can do whatever you want with it. So smart control.
That's a really good thing for kind of compositional inspiration and you know, changing
maybe even
stuff
play
up.
live.
Yeah, yeah. That's
You know,
another point.
I think it comes from main stage. That
Yeah.
a little bit.
Okay.
Now, okay, we've got to do one more thing.
Okay. Oh yeah, we have got to do one more thing actually.
It's
Before we all melt in the
before we all met in the
studio.
studio. Yeah, as you may see, it's 30
pretty-
degrees outside under
Yeah.
the lights in the studio. I would say it's about 50
I'd
now.
say it's about 50 degrees. Yeah.
Check it out now, guys. It's the free app that Logic have done.
So this is the. Is it got a name? Is it remote or something?
Logic Remote. I
Logic
think. Let me
Remote, yeah.
check. Yeah, Logic Remote. So connecting, you have to be on the same network. I don't know if you can see the app, guys. Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty cool. I mean, I used to have an app that I paid about 30 quid to control Logic 9 before.
Right.
It didn't do a tenth of what that app does for free.
Yeah.
This is awesome. I've got the full mixer. It's multi-touch, so I can do 3 fader at once. Okay, that's pretty cool. I mean, you know, you've got a studio. I'm really sweating now. You've got a studio with a vocal booth. You go into your vocal booth.
So you can be talking to your artist.
Well, or you go there and record yourself.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah. The number of stuff you can do, you can create new track from it.
Right.
You've got also, I'm really doing it quick now to rush. You've got the key commands. All the key commands are here: rewind, stop, record, save.
Right.
And you can completely customize it. You can completely customize those key commands.
That is really awesome, isn't it?
You know, pretty awesome. Quickly as well, do we have a keyboard somewhere? Very quickly, I can.
You can play on it as
Yes,
well? yeah?
absolutely. They brought the whole thing. So I'm going to go into mixer now. Let's see where my synth is. Where do I have a synth? Quickly. Summing here. So I'm on this track. I go there. Automatic. Here we are.
And you can play chords as well, yeah.
You know what I mean? You can have different type of stuff as well, using, you know, it's all coming from the GarageBand stuff.
Yeah.
It's like playing an harpsichord,
Yeah,
stuff
yeah.
like that. Oh, I love it, man.
Bit of green sleeves.
Absolutely. You can't access the plugins from here, but it's not really a problem because you can access the smart control as you've seen.
Right, yeah.
You know, you've seen the smart control here. So you can control from here as well your EQ, whatever you've assigned to your smart control. So pretty sweet, really. Also, you've got our library here. You know, drum machine, orchestral, So I could decide, okay, here I've got a string. And then you've got the pitch thing. You know what I mean? It's pretty cool.
It's wicked. Yeah.
Then you've got the strings. Like, it's all GarageBand stuff. I take it, guys, it is. But it's all the stuff that I thought was fun in GarageBand.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, definitely.
I prefer playing like that than playing with a keyboard, man.
Yeah,
I have
yeah,
to
definitely.
say. You know, you even have drum pads for drums. Obviously, here I'm triggering synths. So,
It's
wicked.
so yeah, I think that's for me. We've gone slightly longer than usual, but there are lots of features that I haven't even touched on.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me it does go to show, you know, despite the talks that might be out there, there's a lot. You know, a lot
There's
that's
a lot of
new,
new
a
features.
lot of stuff, but that we
There's
couldn't
a
even
lot
cover
of
in an
new
hour.
feature.
You know, we've been
You
here
know,
for an hour.
we
so-
could go, you know.
Yeah.
We really, yeah, I mean, after that, I mean, are there any questions to finish off since we...
Let's have a quick look. Just to refresh
Otherwise,
the
you know,
page.
post your question in YouTube. On
Yeah, I
on
mean,
YouTube
if you
and
do, if we don't get through them,
I'm really happy to.
is it compatible with MIDI controllers? Yes.
Yes, of
always
course.
has been.
The smart control can be assigned here as well. So
Okay,
you
cool,
control
yeah,
a control that controls another control,
Yeah.
and so on. MIDI quickly, very quickly. I mean, I'm gonna finish, promise. MIDI here. You've got a scripter. Somebody was asking it.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Basically, you can design your own plugins.
Cool.
If you're into scripting and coding,
Yeah.
that it's using JavaScript, which I was a little bit surprised of because it's
Right.
maybe a bit old. You could argue that it's also easier to use.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I think I'll have
It's a bit more accessible, I guess.
Yeah,
isn't it?
you know, and it gives you an instant result evaluating MIDI processing script.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, yeah, and so on and so on. There are a lot of also the workflow has improved immensely.
Yeah.
I haven't showed the little details of the workflow. The MIDI editing very quickly again, just because I want to show those stuff because I've discussed with people.
The guys in the studio are just melting over there.
I'm not. I'm in water. Look at the MIDI stuff, you know, way better than before. The way stuff here, you can see, you can swing the stuff here. You see the note moving automatically with the swing. You know, I mean, all sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It's really awesome.
Well,
Really awesome.
as we've said, you know, we are at time.
Yes.
We are all boiling to the point of just
Of no
boiling over,
return.
keeling over. So yeah, we'll be back next week. I mean, I'm sure that we're going to look, you know, further into Logic 10, you know, in the coming weeks.
Well, we are looking to integrate in our courses like now, literally in September in the college.
Yeah, that's
we will
right,
be teaching Logic 10 and online as well.
Yeah.
You know, very soon because I think it's fair to say we're all loving it here.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so, you know, with that in mind, guys, keep locked to the Facebook page, to the YouTube channel. And of course, if you want to, you know, if you're purchasing Logic 10 and you want some to sign up for a course, you know, do that. As JC said, September time, we're looking at having Logic 10 fully integrated here in London. And the online courses, you know, in no time at all as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's it from us. A big thank you to JC for
Pleasure.
taking us out. Yes, JC.
Pleasure, guys. It's been. I was really excited. As you can see, I'm really excited.
Yeah,
about,
yeah.
you know.
I think we all are.
Cool,
So yeah,
cool.
that's
It's
it
been
from
fun.
us. It's been wicked. It's
been wicked.
That's Friday Forum Live for another week, and we'll see you next Friday, 4 o'clock. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.